What's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration. It really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Absolute honor, and I'm super excited to address our featured titan for today, Ryan Serhant. Ryan, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure and honor.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's fun to be here.
No, this is super exciting. In the war room, as they say, right in your headquarters, in your office. It's really cool to kind of see the space.
Yeah.
And, I'm really excited for everybody out there to get to know you deeper through the audience, tools, tactics, systems, what really grows and scales your business, but really to get to know Ryan a little bit better than everybody else kind of goes through. But let's just dive into the series of questions, man.
Let's do it.
So I guess let's just start with telling everybody a little bit about yourself.
Oh man, what do people not already know? My name is Ryan Serhant. I was born in Texas in 1984, bounced around a lot growing up, kind of settled down outside Boston, grew up outside Boston, tried every single sport known to man. I was terrible at sports. I wasn't too great in school, but I was like a good, disciplined kid. My parents were very, very strict, and I think that as much as I hated that growing up, it played a big role in kind of who I am today. I went to college in upstate New York for English literature. I thought I was going to be an attorney. I took the LSAT when I graduated and totally bombed it. So then that didn't work out. I studied my ass off. It wasn't my thing. So I had a couple dollars saved up. So I moved to New York City, and I said, my big passion has always been acting, and it's the one thing I like. And I like being on stage. I like being in front of people, connecting with audiences. So I went to New York City, gave myself 2 years to make money. If I couldn't make money, I was going to then find another job or try to go back to law school or move home. This was in 2006. I made it the 2 years to the summer of 2008, and I just totally ran out of money. I did a few things. I was on a soap opera for a bit. I played Dr. Evan Walsh IV on As the World Turns, and then they killed me off. I did a lot of free theater and off Broadway stuff around the city. I was a hand model. Like I just did so many odd jobs. Like I was a flyer guy on the street corner for a gym. Like anything you could possibly think of to make $5 in New York City so I could pay rent. That's what I did. But then I went completely broke, ran out of money in the summer of 2008. And it was either get a temp job, become a bartender, become a waiter, or move home. And at that time, my parents were in Colorado full time. Okay. So in your neck of the woods. Love it. And I just said to myself, I'm already in New York City, and I know a lot of people who would love or die to be here. If I leave, I'm never coming back. Like if I leave New York City and go do something in Steamboat where my parents were and work on the ranch or something, like it's always going to be too expensive. It's always going to be too stressful. I'm never going to come back. So I got to figure out a way to stay here, because if I can make something of myself in New York City, then I think I'll be really, really happy. And so a friend of mine said, listen, you act all the time. You are good at improv and you can memorize information really easily. You should become a real estate agent. And I was like, real estate agents are the worst. No way in the world do I want to become a real estate agent. Oh my God. And I kicked and screamed, but then I finally just got my license because it was pretty easy to do. Okay. And I was like, I'm going to come work for you. This was the day Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. And that day, my friend then quit, the one who told me to get into the business. He quit, and he was like, sorry, man, market's over. Everyone's going to die. He moved to LA. And then I was by myself at a real estate brokerage above a burger restaurant on 49th and Madison. Wow. And it was like, figure it out. And it was a great time for me to start because I had no money. And so like the market being really, really tough and everyone losing their job at the time, it didn't affect me. Mm-hmm. Right. I made $9,000 my first year. And that was still, for me anyway, that was a good amount of money. Because I had been living on $10,000 a year to start. Wow. And then I just kind of went from there, and I became addicted to the game, and it became a much better use of my time to meet people to try to sell them apartments than it was to go to auditions to try to get cast in a show
Hmm.
that I was too tall for, or that I was, just wasn't right. So, a lot of real estate agents get out of the business really early because they can't handle the rejection, or the business is too hard and they
Interesting.
can't make money. But for me, like, I spent 2 years in New York City with no money, scrounging dollars, and being rejected to my face because of my face. Like,
Wow.
as a real estate agent, if someone didn't want to buy an apartment, it wasn't because of the size of my nose, it was because they didn't want to buy the apartment. So the rejection for me was not nearly as worse as it is for brand new real estate agents.
Hmm.
And I became addicted to it. Like, I loved the hustle, the idea that I could wake up every day and just go and meet people and show them apartments that I don't have to own. Like, all I have to do in this job is meet people. Like, that's it. And you get paid a percentage if you connect that person with somebody else who has something to sell. Like, that's a job.
Wow.
And here I am 11 years later.
Ah, that's crazy. I mean, and that's a beautiful backstory, Ryan. And as you said, there's so many people that have seen your work and are inspired by you every single day through your vlog, and obviously through what you do on television, and just in the real estate community worldwide. It's phenomenal. And I want to go into that segue, because you already answered a few of my questions going into there. Why real estate? What got you into it? But let's go into what happened and what was the initial thought process when Bravo had reached out to you with $1 Million Listing. What's up with that? I mean,
they definitely did not reach out to me.
Okay.
I'd been doing, they cast that show at the beginning of 2010.
Okay.
So I'd been in the business for just about a year and a half. Wow. And I was mostly renting apartments in Koreatown, Long Island City, kind of all over the place. And they put out an open casting call for the best agents. I think it was under 30 or under 35 or something like that, for a spin-off of $1 Million Listing, which at that time was just one show based in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And I saw that and I was just like, I could do a reality show. This could be funny. So I went to an open casting call at the Hudson Hotel in Times Square with 3,000 real estate agents. And 6 months later, of different callbacks, of different written applications and background checks and all that, they cast me on the show.
Unreal.
So that's how I got onto it. And the first season of $1 Million Listing was filmed with 4 agents. And Bravo told us the show will only be 3 of you. So you better work hard and be interesting on television. So that's how they made us. Like, that first season, if I ever look back, I'm a complete psycho, just because every day the producers would come in and say, wow, this is the listing you want to put on TV. Okay, interesting. Yeah, this is good. The other 3 have listings that are $10 million. So it doesn't look, we're probably gonna have to cut you. Wow. And every day was emotionally I took years off my life, but I fought really, really hard, made it onto the final cut. So got onto the show, and we've been nominated for 2 Emmys later, and we're about to start filming our 9th season, which is just bananas.
9th season. That's incredible.
Yeah. But if you think real estate is difficult, if you think real estate developers, builders, sellers, and buyers are nuts, wait till you deal with network cable television and the stress and the pressure that they put on you. Wow. No developer has ever brought me through the ringer the way that Bravo has.
Unbelievable. A whole nother level right there. And again, this is speaking to the audience right now. Everybody who's watching or listening to this is incredible, Ryan. And, thank you so much for sharing, a little window into that for sure. I want to dive a little bit deeper into you as an individual and as a producer. And this question is really telling for so many people, and it's thrown around quite a bit, but I find it very pertinent, is the why question. I mean, Ryan, what is your why? What gets you out of bed every morning and motivates you to do what you do to the level you do it at?
Falling down the mountain. I mean, complete and utter fear of failure and public shame. The better you do, the it's like the age old saying, right? The higher you go, the harder you fall. Right. So every day I need to do more. I'm just fueled by more. I don't want to have a year that's less. Every year, if you sell more, you make more, your lifestyle changes. Sure. You have any idea what my bills are? I don't want to know. It's insane. So I've got to uphold this, and that's a gun to my head at the same time. It's not an unhealthy thing. Right. I think I'm one of those people, and I think a lot of people are the same, where you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to push yourself to move forward. If I if I hadn't had gone broke in 2008, I don't know if I'd be here right now. Like if my parents had helped me, or if I had more money saved, like would I really have become a real estate agent because I desperately needed to figure out how to pay my rent? Honestly, probably not.
Okay.
And even in like the last 10 years, like the things that I've done and the situations I've put myself in the real estate business have pushed me to do even better because I've had to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I say yes to a lot of opportunity, but waking me up in the morning is the fear that I'm on top of this mountain and I might fall off unless I keep climbing. And if I don't keep climbing, then I'm going to freeze to death like I'm on Everest. I'm going to fall off, or someone's going to pass me, right? Other people are climbing up the mountain at the same time, and I don't want that.
Right. I mean, to me, you're speaking, huge volumes to top producers and anybody who's motivated as an entrepreneur or real estate professional to grow and continue to move forward. And I think that elevates everything that you do, Ryan, personally and professionally. Obviously, having that proverbial gun to your head is helpful. It pushes and motivates. And if it wasn't, would you push yourself that hard? Would you go that far? And I think that message is beautiful. It's reflective into, as far as I'm concerned, your team, you being a leader and guiding them through that process and really elevating the real estate transaction, but then looking at it for your clients, but then also for your family. I mean, all that comes through and through to your why, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, of course. I think, listen, I wrote about it in the book, right? I have a book called Sell Like Serhant, which is a sales book that's done incredibly well, that, where I try to teach people how to sell, but really how to figure out how to structure your day, right? Figure out what your why is, your wall, like what's your wall, what's your back up against? And if it's not money, then what is it? Maybe it was because, your last job was as a substitute teacher and you can't for the life of you ever go back to that. Or maybe it's, student debt. Maybe that's the wall that you have up against you, and you don't want to be paying student debt off for the next 20 years. You want to pay it down tomorrow. So you're going to fight for it. Right. And also like, these W words, like what's your win? Like what's the end game? What's the end game? Like, why do you get up and fight every single day? Like when is enough? When are you going to be happy? Like, these are the things I think about a lot. And I think that if you are able to figure them out and write them down and then adjust them every year as you go by, because your life changes, it'll help you have clarity in like the fight and the race you go on every single day.
Well said, Ryan. I mean, I think that's perfect out there, and giving everybody a little bit of window into that and what drives and obviously pushes you to the level you're at and continue to go. I think that's huge. I want to shift gears into this one. And this is one of the crowd pleasers for this particular series. And the people that are watching or listening, they want to know what the Titans are doing or have done to grow and scale their business, advice that you would give. So the question ends up being, I mean, if you could look back at your career thus far, Ryan, and pick or choose one or two things, whatever you're willing to share, that took your business from one level to the next. What's that look like for you?
Learning to use people, right?
In a good way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just leverage, right? How to leverage your time. Like it's tough because I'm in a service industry, right? So anyone who's listening, who feels like they're in the same way. So a real estate agents or, even builders, like people come to me for me. Like they want to hire Ryan Serhant. There are 80,000 real estate agents in New York City.
Wow.
Like, yes, I do a lot of business. Yes, we're at the top of the rankings, but at the same time, like not everybody wants to hire the guy that's super busy and running around all day long.
Sure.
They want somebody who's going to bleed for them. And so there is a lot of competition in the city. So I had to figure out really kind of how to give up control and leverage myself. And that's where things really changed for me, was kind of, releasing that kind of micromanager control that I like to have over everything, and bringing on a team and really scaling as much as I can, and only focusing all day on only the things I can do. Like, I think that's really, really important. I don't do anything during the day that someone else is physically capable of doing. Like I have an email assistant. Like I have people who I pay, right? And I had these people even before I could ever even afford them, but it helped me because I knew it was going to pay dividends. Like right now, I'm going to spend this time with you doing this podcast. You were not interested in talking to anybody else on my team, right? You're interested in talking to me. Sure. So this is something that only I can do. After this, I've got calls with developers and clients and showings that I am only the person who can do them. Everything else, applications, emails, other phone calls, like prepping for this event or that open house, is up to other people.
Wow.
and I have to take care of those people, but it's a way that I can leverage my time and kind of expand the tentacles of my octopus, I guess.
Okay.
Like that is really what changed things for me. And then when you
Okay.
have those people around you, it forces you to then grow even faster because you want to support them and you want them to do even more business. And then it's just about finding the right people to do all that stuff.
Okay. And I think that's huge advice for everybody who's looking to grow and take their business up to that next level and really seeing that. The
Yeah.
pushback that I get a lot with professionals that I'm engaging with going through and through is really bringing on those right people, as you said, and how do you find them and how do you qualify for them and that sort of thing. And it's a process, right? I mean, it's not just a one size fits all. I mean, everybody's got a role to play, as you were saying, and a piece to the puzzle to make that whole picture. Any
Yep.
advice onto that, Ryan, at all? I mean, thoughts into bringing on the right people, the right team, and how you do
Oh
it?
man, it is so hard. Like it's, I try to do my best with it. Oftentimes you just don't know about someone until you've worked with them for a little bit.
Mhm.
I try to run a pretty rigorous interview process though.
Okay.
Even if I like somebody and I think they're really capable, I make sure they meet somebody else from the team and make sure that person is really, really judgmental. And I make sure they meet with my entire admin staff too, because they're going to have to be dealing with those people all day long. And if they don't get an A+ review across the board, even if I really like the person, I don't bring them on because it's
Hmm.
just not worth the time. You have to have a system of checks and balances. And then like any relationship, whether it's an employee, an admin, another agent on your team, or your wife or husband, relationships live and die through communication.
Okay.
Like you have to set communication, and you have to set expectations.
Hmm.
Like you can't get mad at somebody for not doing something that they didn't know they were supposed to do, right? Or
Wow.
that you didn't properly teach them how to do. And that's something that I still struggle with to this
Okay.
day because I just assume that everyone should be a genius and know what to do.
Right.
But it's okay. Not everybody has to be a genius.
That's fair.
But if
That's
you put in the time to teach people, set expectations, and have clear and concise communication, I think any relationship can be awesome.
okay. Yeah. Beautiful advice all the way through. And again, we could go list and list and list and keep going on. And I'm sure everybody's out there. Just follow Ryan. There's so many sources and so many places.
Yeah.
I do want to mention your vlog on YouTube. Absolutely phenomenal. I think you're on vlog 87.
Yeah, or something like that. We're almost at
Something.
100, which is just crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts. But the information is absolutely impeccable. It's ultra, relevant. To me,
Yeah,
it's super entertaining. I get to know you on another level too, which is really great. And that's on YouTube. But I want to talk about something specific to this audience, because this audience is mainly realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential and commercial, who tune in, who really want to learn from the best of the best.
sure.
You have a course, Ryan, and this
Yes.
is extremely relevant, extremely pertinent. And would you mind sharing a little bit of that with the audience?
Yeah, sure. So part of my why too is always figuring out like, one, how do I expand myself, but also how do I use what I know? Like selling apartments isn't enough for me, right? There's only so many lights that I can turn on, right? There's only so
Sure.
many deals I can do. Like the objections and the issues I get are the same no matter what, right? People have the same fears. It never changes. And if you figure out how to negotiate and manage the issues that people have, like you can sell anything. And so, 2 years ago, I did a TV show on Bravo called Sell It Like Serhant, where I taught the worst salespeople in the world how to sell so that they wouldn't lose their job.
Wow.
And that was a really, really awesome, fun show to do. And then from that, I wrote a book called Sell It Like Serhant about how to sell anything. And then in August of this year, we released an online sales course, which is 42 different classes. It's almost 6 hours of content. You can binge it all at the same time. You can find it on my website, ryanserhant.com. And there's worksheets, templates, email templates. And what I did is I was like, you know what? I want to make a course where if I could go back in time, if there was a real estate course that was produced by one of the top real estate agents in the United States, which just doesn't exist, right? Just all the coaches and courses out there are done by people who used to be real estate agents or professional coaches, which I just don't find as helpful. Like if I could go back in time, I would take that course, but I'd want it to tell me everything. Like, what do I do at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday when I don't have a client until 1. Like, how do I make the best use of that day? How do I market myself? How do I brand myself? Like, how do I become effective on social media as a real estate agent with no listings or no business? How do I negotiate? How do I deal with buyers? How do I deal with sellers? How do I scale my business? Like, all that stuff no one really talks about. And so I put all of that into the course. And it's been super, super, super successful.
Love it. I mean, and it sounds like it really is coming from a true source and a great place, and a place that you would have wished somebody would have done, as you said, all laid out in front of you. So for everybody out there, I'm going to have links in the comments down below. So obviously you can follow Ryan on multiple social medias, check out his vlog, and then also take a look at the site and the course. Huge opportunity, everybody. So Ryan, I'm super excited that we're able to share that with everybody out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Going into. So I want to shift gears. Now, this is the tricky part of this particular interview and series. It's the challenge question. Now, this one dives a little deeper into an emotional side or personal side. You take it for what it is, though, Ryan. I mean, share whatever you're comfortable. But this is, everybody deals with challenges in their lives, and no one's exempt, whether it's in the past, in the present, or in the future. And it's not so much what happens in my belief, but what we learn and grow from and how we respond that really makes a difference. It doesn't take away from any pain or suffering.
Sure.
So whether it's personal challenges, Ryan, or professional challenges, is there anything that you're comfortable sharing with the audience that you dealt with, that you overcame, you became stronger because of it?
Sure. I mean, I go through challenges every day. My wife and I had a really hard time having a baby. That was a big challenge. I am a total control freak. I am like type A by definition. I want to control absolutely everything. That's why I like real estate, because even though we don't have control, like I have control over the work, right? Like I know that I'm not going to get every deal done, but I know that I can control how hard I work and what I do day in and day out, and how structured I am and how disciplined I am, so that no matter what, if I take care of the work's going to take care of me. But I had no control over our ability to get pregnant and have a baby. And we got married in 2016 and started trying right away. And it just never happened. And we tried absolutely everything. And through kind of, a lot of work and through a really good doctor on the Upper East Side, we went through, an intense IVF process, and we got pregnant, and we had our daughter Zena in February. And we really didn't want to go through that whole thing, because we meddle in so much of our lives these days, between the types of dietary supplements we take, to like the crap that's in our food, to, the technology that is attached to our body, and like all that stuff that, like, can't we just make a baby and not have to meddle? And so that was a really, really hard thing for us to kind of get over. And, and then you have all your friends and colleagues who are like, oh my God, I just got pregnant. I don't think I even remember when. And you're like, you asshole.
Right. Yeah.
And so we went through that process. It's been amazing. And, actually, Amelia's kind of become this like de facto spokesperson for the process. And she's putting out a children's book with Random House that she just announced. You can find it on Amazon. It's called To the Moon and Back for You. And she's doing it because during that whole process, like, I had no idea, but there are no children's books about IVF or IUIs. There's no, like, it just doesn't exist. There's like one children's book about adoption, but other than that, if you have a baby through IVF, apparently people are really embarrassed by it, and they don't want to tell their kids, which is just so weird to me. So she wrote a children's book about that, and is working on a lot of other things regarding infertility in the world. And so it's been an interesting learning process, but that was a challenge.
Yeah, no, I mean, Ryan, thanks for sharing that. It's not easy to do, and obviously air everything out in front of everybody going that way. And it's very inspiring. I mean, family is, to me, one of the most important things in the world. And to have a little miracle happen is fantastic. We had our daughter about 15 months ago, and it's our first, and it's just an amazing experience to be a dad, as you know, and it's just the coolest thing. But the fact that you guys are taking something that's so tough, and you just keep moving forward and pushing. And then, Amelia really taking that and spreading the message. And again, I'll have links in the comments down below so you guys can pre-order that book, To the Moon and Back for You. And I actually pre-ordered mine. I think that they're delivering March 24th or something like that in 2020. So you can pre-order now, but they're coming next year.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, that's really, really exciting stuff out there for everybody. And Ryan, again, thanks so much for for opening up for the
Of
audience a
course.
little bit that way. I want to shift gears on that and go a little softer with this question. And this actually ends up
Okay.
being my favorite question. It's the travel back in time
Okay.
portion. So if you could travel back in time, Ryan, at
Yes.
any age range, any time frame of your life, and give young Ryan a piece of advice or two, whether it was last year or if it was 20 some odd years ago, what would you say to young Ryan?
Oh man, I I would go back to myself as a teenager who was, in high school trying to figure out what to do with his life, like, not the cool kid in school, not the smartest kid in school. Like I had terrible skin. Like I was super insecure, and I had like one friend, Dave, great friend. I go back to that kid, and I would just, I would walk in with the suits that I have now. I'd have my driver pull up, and I'd get out. I'd say, "Hey, just so you know, I'm you from the fucking future, and everything's gonna be okay."
Wow.
That's what I
Okay.
would do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that though, because I think
Why not?
we can all go back into that portion, right? And we can look at our lives and talk to our younger selves and say, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Like keep making the moves.
Everything works. That's what I said like 5 minutes ago, like about like as long as you do the work, as long as you work, like the work will take care of you. It's like my favorite quote, and it always makes things simple for me, right? Like it's not that hard. It's like I'm a real estate agent. As long as I show homes and I look for new people to show homes to, and I look for new people to help me show those homes, everything's going to be okay. It's not that hard. Like
Wow.
what's hard is the complaining. What's hard is the negativity. What's hard is you didn't get out of bed till 9 a.m. on a Tuesday because you didn't have anything else to do. Like, what the fuck? Like, of course you have stuff to do. Like there's
Right.
so many things to do every single day. Like until you have $100 million in the bank, then you have stuff to do.
Right. That's true. And I think even when you got the 100 million, there's still more to do,
I
right? I
listen,
think it's
always, right? Everything's relative. That's why I said before, like when you figure out what your why is and your win is and what your wall is, like that'll always change every year. What I thought would be an amazing win as a success for me for the rest of my life in 2010 is very different now. Like
wow.
it just changes, right? Your
Sure.
lifestyle changes. You move, like you have different relationships, like you change jobs, you change things. It's so you always have to kind of like update what those goals are and always make them a little bit harder.
Huh. I think that's true advice all the way through and through, Ryan. And what you're mentioning to me, and translate for the audience going into it, it's evolution. Like we should be evolving as a person, as a professional, constantly growing and changing, and that's our mindset too, right? And if you're
Of
not,
course.
I think something's wrong. There's happening in those comfort zones. You stay the same, you get the same results. So you already mentioned all this through and through. You're speaking straight to the audience. This is awesome, Ryan.
Yeah,
This
of
is really,
course.
really good stuff. I want to shift gears onto this one, and this is actually a crowd pleaser as well for the audience going through. And this ends up being the feeding of the mind question. So
Hmm.
I always lead into it with the Titans this way. Books you're reading or have read, podcasts you're listening to, influencers on social media, coaches. Ryan, how are you feeding your mind? What stands out to you?
Oh man, like I don't have a whole lot of time to read,
Sure.
or anything. I mean,
Sure.
I'll read the news on my app, on my phone, but it's really honestly just to like calm the brain down. Like you just sit
Okay.
there and you read like the Daily Mail or the New York Post. Like you get the updates, you're good. I don't want to overwhelm myself with politics or world events that everybody else seems to. It's just a waste of time.
Right.
um, I have a lot of very unique and very special clients that are super smart and way more successful than I will ever be. And
Wow.
so I feed my mind by, by spending as much time with them as possible. Like I'm a big believer that like you are only as good as the people you keep, right?
Love
Like
it.
you are kind of the definition of like your friend group. And if you
Hmm.
hang out with people that are, not as successful as you are and you're with them all the time, they're going to keep you at your level. And that's fine if you're okay with that. But if you're not okay with that, then find new people to hang out with. Like, don't
Wow.
complain about it. So I spend as much time as I can with, like, after this, I literally am going to run after I talk to you to go meet the CEO of an incredibly large public company. You would know his name.
Mm.
And I've got him for 45 minutes to show him two places. But all I'm going to do is talk to him about what he's doing today. Like, how is
Wow.
he managing his time? Like, in between showings, like, I always try to ask about like, how did you get started? What is your life like? What do you think is happening in the market? Like, what are you interested in? Because they have such a different way of thinking about things that I do, that really, really feeds my mind. And that's
Wow.
in a very, very selfish way. By doing that and feeding my brain with the knowledge that my clients have, I'm also being an even better broker,
Hmm.
because the best thing you can do as a broker is you can ask questions and then you can just respond instead of just replying. And everybody loves to hear themselves talk, right? Especially wealthy people, successful people, CEOs, developers. You ask them questions about their business and their life, they're going to leave the conversation. You'll have said 3 words and they're going to say, wow, Ryan really cared about me. So
Hmm.
it's twofold, right? One, it's feed my brain, learn as much as I can, surround myself with people who are better than me, but also build trust,
Hmm.
right, in our relationship, because I asked a lot of questions that I actually do honestly care about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how relationships are formed.
I think that's huge, and there's no better form, in my opinion. I mean, you can read books and listen to podcasts and do all these different things, and go and have these meetings. But the face-to-face, one-on-one learning in the community, as you said, with true partners,
Yeah.
that's the way to do it, Ryan. And you're growing and scaling and making a big difference. Obviously, you create a ton of amazing content, and we mentioned books, things like that, courses, whatnot, and blogs. So I'm going to have all that listed down below. But again, just listen to what Ryan just said. Reach out to people, build your sphere, surround yourself with greatness, and really be truly honest when you're asking those questions, and be mindful of their time. But Ryan, as you said, and you're absolutely in that category, the most successful people in this world, they want to share. They
Yeah.
want to share other successes and help other people grow, but you got to ask. You
Yeah,
got to
sure.
put yourself in those
Of
situations.
course.
And so many other successful professionals out there do. So Ryan, again, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This has been absolutely incredible to have you.
Of course, man.
So full of just amazing information, takeaways, tactics. This is fantastic. I want to wrap everything up with a final question.
Sure.
And this one ends up being the quote or mantra that you might live by that sums you up as a man, as a professional. What's that look like for Ryan Serhant?
I'd rather regret the things I did than the things I never tried. That's in the book. There's a whole, not to talk about my book, like there's a whole chapter just on the power of yes. Like, dude, I came to New York City because my grandfather died and left me like $40, right, to move to New York City with. And I was like, sure, yeah, I'll try it, right?
Wow.
And then I had, sorry, my computer. And then I had, someone who said, listen, you should try out for this internet reality show to win a role on a soap opera. Okay, sure, I'll try it. I had somebody who said, you have nice hands, you should hold phones and we'll pay you $150 an hour. Sure, why not? Like, people have said, hey, do you want to come to China to come meet someone? Absolutely, sure, I'll come. When? Tuesday works for me. Like, you should get your real estate license. That's a way that you can stay in New York City. Sure, okay, let's do it. Like, you should do this other reality TV. Like, everything I've done, there's no book for it. Like, there's no structure for success, with the exception of choose success first. Like, I think that's the other through line to my life, is that, you have a lot of people who wish they were successful at one thing, and that one thing might not work. Like, you might not have that arm. You might not
Right.
be able to be that pitcher. Like, maybe you just have no personality. You don't know how to tell a joke, and you can't be a salesperson. Like, don't
Wow.
complain about it. Go do something else. Like, life is short. And I honestly think that if you choose success first, the career will follow. And you just have no idea what it's going to be. And for me, it happened to be real estate sales, which is just so, even now, 11 years later, like, it's just so random. Never. Yeah, that's also what I would tell my kid version of me at 13. I'd be like, oh, by the way, you're a realtor. And he'd be like,
Oh,
what? No. And I
why?
tell him, but it's okay. It's okay. Realtors in 2019 are different than they are now,
Well
sir.
said.
Like,
Well said.
it's, the idea of what a realtor was in 1997, very different from what it is today.
Unreal. Ryan, I mean, this is amazing. And again, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. There's so much positive nature out there. And again, everybody, please follow Ryan. I'm going to have listed everything down below. But Ryan, thank you so much. You are an official real estate titan, my friend. So thanks again for taking the time. Everybody out there, thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. As always, if you like what we're doing with Real Estate Titans, please don't forget to like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and have a listen on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
See you, man.